That's him. Okay.
So, we've just crashed a nursing home in East Texas. In the lobby, we see an old man in a wheelchair. He's got on a Baylor University sweatshirt.
Excuse me, Baylor Bear. Are you E. Ray Andrews?
Yes, ma'am.
I am glad to meet you. I've wanted to talk to you for a long time.
We've found E. Ray Andrews, the former head prosecutor of Henderson County, the same prosecutor who brought an indictment against Jerry Mack Watkins for the death of Jerry Mack's wife, Shelley. I won't lie, I feel a little conflicted right now. E. Ray is an old man, 83 years old to be exact, and he looks pretty infirm. It's right before Christmas, but we're not here to pay him a social visit. We want to see what E. Ray remembers about the case against Jerry Mack, because E. Ray should know better than anyone why that case flew right off the rails. Carol starts with small talk. Her dad was actually E. Ray's law professor at Baylor.
He was a good professor.
Well, that's good to
He
hear.
was a good lawyer.
Carol quickly pivots to the Watkins case.
I know what happened in that whole situation. I wondered if you would be willing to talk to us about it.
How soon when you want to talk?
So, would you be available to talk right now?
No.
When would be a good time for you?
It'd be a couple of weeks before I could.
Well, if I come back in a couple of weeks, would you talk to me about it then?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. We got a deal.
Got a deal.
Oh, I wanted to ask you, by the way, did you know Carolyn Taylor over in Corsicana? You know, she had that long-running poker game.
This was no idle question. It'll make more sense later.
And
Oh, yeah, I knew Carolyn.
you knew her?
Yeah.
She lived right across the street from the Watkins, from
Yeah.
Jerry Mack Watkins.
Yeah, I knew Carolyn. She had a dice game and a poker game.
Oh, dice too. I only knew about the poker.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I bet the football game with her.
You bet football games with her?
Yeah. You, not me. Well, come back and see me. I'll try to be able to help you out.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
All right. See you
Okay.
after Christmas. Have a good holiday.
Okay, you do so.
We take our leave. This was actually my second time to visit E. Ray. During my first visit a couple weeks earlier, he'd been pretty gruff.
I'm not too much for that publicity shit.
I understand.
I thought he was about to kick me to the curb and say, "Don't come back." To my surprise, he told me to try him again in 2 weeks. So I did, this time with Carol, and Carol was able to get him to open up a lot more than I had. But then he put us off, just the same. Come back in another 2 weeks, like he was buying himself just a little more time. Well, nice work.
If you can get it.
I don't know what's going to be different in 2 weeks, but
I guarantee you, not a thing.
But we were wrong.
My name is Carol Dawson.
And I'm Wes Ferguson. You're listening to The Unforgotten, Season 1, The Labor Day Ghost.
Chapter 5, E. Ray the DA.
As you know by now, Shelley Watkins lived and probably died in Corsicana in Navarre County, Texas. But all the legal wrangling over her case is happening one county over in the town of Athens. Before we dig into this story, there's just one bit of trivia about this place you might want to know.
In the 1880s, in Athens, Texas, a man by the name of Fletcher Old Dave Davis claims to have made the first hamburger with a piece of ground beef between 2 pieces of bread, some mustard, and a Bermuda onion.
That was from a random video on Facebook from a woman called the Naked Rancher. Don't worry, the Naked Rancher is fully clothed. But yes, Athens calls itself the birthplace of the hamburger, thanks to Old Dave's lunch counter on the courthouse square. It's been well over a century, and no one's proven the town wrong yet.
That is a rather fun fact for Athens, Texas to claim. Good on them.
Athens also calls itself the black-eyed pea capital of the world, so it's a full meal. Mike Head was just 9 years old when his family moved to the small East Texas town.
Well, I mean, it's a beautiful area, but the people are very friendly. It's a very nice place, but kind of a typical East Texas town. There are families with very deep roots here, and you're kind of not from Athens until you've had 2 or 3 generations here. And even for us, we've been here 50 years, but we're not technically considered from Athens.
Technically, E. Ray wasn't from Athens either. He grew up 10 miles down the road in the smaller town of Malakoff. But E. Ray always made his presence felt in Athens. The local newspaper once described E. Ray as sometimes brilliant, sometimes embarrassing. Mike saw both sides.
In his heyday, I guess, he was tall, slender, dressed kind of, I don't want to say shabbily, but just kind of didn't put a whole lot of stock in his appearance, but was very kind of congenial guy that knew everyone, shook hands with everyone, always had some sort of little smart-ass comment to say, but in a way that typically it didn't offend people unless they were just offended by him in general, which there were people that did not like E. Ray at all, but people knew that he wasn't scared to fight for him and had an excellent reputation as a defense lawyer, as being a fighter and a trial lawyer.
There were other people in Athens who had known E. Ray Andrews for a lot longer than Mike Head had. Christy Warwick, the sheriff's 911 operator, who first took the call about Shelley Watkins' body discovered floating in the Trinity River, recalls Andrews from all the way back into her childhood.
I know E. Ray Andrews through my daddy. They were drinking buddies.
Yeah.
So I've known E. Ray since I was, small. And, my dad, God rest his soul, drank a lot of beer. And him and E. Ray were good buddies. Probably because E. Ray helped him out of a few binds during his drinking days. He was a nice man. But no, I was a child. I probably didn't. No. There's some things I could say, but I probably wouldn't.
Oh, come on.
Just personal stuff. I don't know. I'm not sure he was always up to par with what he should be doing. My dad was a very giving man, especially when he got intoxicated. Him and my uncles were all mason bricklayers here in town. He made good money and he didn't have any bills. And people knew that. That was his love language, I guess. Somebody needed 20, here. You need 100, here. So his billfold became open to everybody. If they asked for something, and E. Ray has been one of them. And I always just kept track of who asked for Dad's money and when do you get paid? Friday? Okay. Knowing they'd be there on Friday night. Do you have Dad's 20, 50? And they knew I was going to ask. And I did that for years.
Yeah, and E. Ray too, you had to go ask?
I have gotten money back from E. Ray, yes. Yes, I have.
Well, he had a lot of money problems.
Might have just needed it. May have spent it all at the bar. I don't know.
By then, E. Ray had already made quite a name for himself, and not always a positive one. One of the cases in Athens that plunged E. Ray Andrews into hot water was a certain contract he'd asked a client to sign. That might not have seemed like such a big deal. After all, the client was just a deaf, middle-aged widow lady living a quiet life on Cedar Creek Reservoir near Athens, the same lake where the Watkins family had their lake house. But the lady in question happened to be Betty Lou Beats, also known as the Black Widow. Beats was already famous for marrying 6 times, 2 of them to the same husband, once before and once after shooting him in the back. Her 3rd husband she tried to run over with a car. He escaped. But then she succeeded in murdering her next 2 spouses.
Betty Lou Beats was convicted in 1985 of murdering her 5th husband, Dallas firefighter Jimmy Don Beats, for money, life insurance, and a pension. He was shot in the back of the head and buried in a flower garden 30 feet from their front door. The authorities also recovered another body underneath this shed on Beats' property, Betty's fourth husband, Doyle Wayne Barker.
During her murder trial, prosecutors alleged that Ms. Beats killed her fifth husband so she could receive the benefits from his pension and life insurance. If the state could prove that, she could face the death penalty. But E. Ray happened to know that she didn't kill him for money. According to the Washington Post, E. Ray had met the Black Widow several months before her arrest when she called him to get some legal help after her trailer home was damaged in a fire. Ms. Beats mentioned that her husband had been missing for over a year. E. Ray knew her husband was a retired firefighter. When he asked if Ms. Beats was entitled to his life insurance and pension, she had no idea. So it was E. Ray who told Ms. Beats how to benefit from her husband's death after she had already killed him. That fact would have made Andrews a life-saving witness for Beats. But to be a witness, he would have had to withdraw as her defense lawyer and give up his fee. And it wasn't any usual kind of fee. His price for representing the Black Widow was her signature on a contract that surrendered all her media rights to E. Ray's son.
Well, he said the case was going to turn into a big movie, and he had all the right to do it. It was something he talked about pretty often.
This is an actor reading a quote from Bob Miller, the commander of the VFW bar where Andrews consumed 2 or 3 wild turkey doubles every day during lunch.
He said how he was going to get rich on all this.
So instead of testifying, Andrews kept his client, a conflict of interest and ethics that prompted a U.S. District Court judge to throw out Beats' conviction in 1991. But a federal appeals court reinstated it, and after several fruitless appeals, the so-called Black Widow was executed on February 24, 2000.
Only the second woman to be executed in this state in the last 100 years.
The Black Widow fiasco didn't seem to hurt E. Ray's popularity with his clients or with local voters. In 1992, he plastered E. Ray for DA signs around Henderson County and managed to defeat 2 other candidates, including the incumbent, for the DA's position. At the time, Mike Head was just 2 years out of law school. He was working for his dad, Fred Head, a former state legislator who ran a thriving civil law practice in Athens.
I enjoyed working with him, but not the work itself. I just thought that was extremely tedious and boring. After I'd been doing it for a year or two, I honestly kind of wondered if I'd made a mistake.
When E. Ray offered to hire Mike as an assistant district attorney, Mike jumped at the chance to inject a little excitement into his career.
And I'd probably been in the courtroom 6 times, and I knew E. Ray's reputation. And the first day I got over there, it was a Monday morning, and I get to the office at 8 o'clock, and he hands me a list of felony cases that were on the docket for trial. It's like, well, what do you want me to do? And he goes, you can handle it. Just go down there and do it, which was actually a great experience for me. He's a really good person to learn from, and things ran smoothly for probably about a year over there. He had quit drinking and was present in the office, and then things kind of went off track when E. Ray started drinking again.
By the time E. Ray Andrews grabbed the Watkins case, it was getting the kind of publicity he loved. It was reported statewide, covered in newspapers all the way into far west Texas, and E. Ray Andrews was the main thrust behind his prosecution. Witness testimonies had solidified the grand jury indictment of Jerry Mack Watkins and the death of his wife, Shelley, and although both Texas Ranger Ray Nutt and Chief Homicide Detective Larry Warwick candidly expressed the wish not to be so hasty in pushing for an indictment, at least until they could find actual physical evidence directly and indisputably tying Jerry Mack Watkins to his wife's murder, DA E. Ray Andrews ignored their wish. Instead, he aggressively urged the proceedings toward a decision. In other words, he was pushing for his own triumph.
Now, everybody kind of assumed at the time, and in hindsight, honestly, I feel like this was true. E. Ray loved to see his name in the paper and just enjoyed the media attention. And I think probably had good intentions.
But E. Ray Andrews was already in deep trouble that would tarnish his career in profound ways. Added to that, he was heading for the deep end of his particular set of vices: alcohol, gambling, and prescription drugs.
When E. Ray fell off the wagon, he fell hard.
The DA's investigator and I, a guy named Todd West, we went to a legal conference in Fort Worth, and E. Ray was ordering triples on the rocks of Wild Turkey 101, which I'd actually never seen anybody do that before. I didn't even know there was any such thing as a triple. And he knocked back about, 3 or 4 of those in a very short time, and then started getting in confrontations with the other DAs that were there because he had a long history as a criminal defense lawyer, and kind of had to pull him out of the bar before it got worse and put him to bed.
One night, less than a year into E. Ray's term as district attorney, a police officer discovered E. Ray's 92 Oldsmobile wrecked and abandoned outside a gas station called Warren's No. 2. In the car, police found a mostly empty bottle of Wild Turkey 101 and an ice chest with 4 beers in it. E. Ray was nowhere to be seen. Later that night, E. Ray called the sheriff's office from his house on nearby Cedar Creek Reservoir to report the accident. He said he'd stopped at the convenience store to buy a pack of Cool cigarettes. When he was leaving, he simply backed into a pole. At first, he said he didn't know how he got home. Then he changed his story. He said another guy at the store gave him a ride. There were more problems with E. Ray's version of events. The store, Warren's No. 2, was closed for the night, and it had been for over an hour. And E. Ray must have been driving pretty fast when he backed into that pole. He totaled his Oldsmobile and sustained 4 broken ribs. E. Ray also had fainting spells from a head injury. Under normal circumstances, County Attorney Larry Heffington would have been the prosecutor overseeing criminal charges against E. Ray.
We have a county attorney and a district attorney, and the county attorney handled the misdemeanors. The district attorney's office handled the felonies. The county attorney, his name was Larry Heffington. And Larry was a real good guy, but he was a very, very by-the-book guy. And E. Ray was anything but by the book. And so they clashed.
Larry, to put it mildly, was no fan of E. Ray. Citing a conflict of interest, he turned over the case to the Texas Attorney General's office. Then, as far as the public knew, the case just seemed to kind of disappear. But all that Wild Turkey bourbon was clearly affecting E. Ray's job as the district attorney.
When he was hungover, he would ask Todd or I to pick him up a goose liver sandwich from the Berkshire's Deli and take it to his house because he said those were good for his hangovers. And so we would do that on a pretty regular occasion.
Was he showing up to the office obviously hungover or intoxicated?
I don't remember him ever doing that or showing up in court having, clearly been drinking. It was more a matter of him just being absent and us being aware that he was drinking because he wasn't coming to work. At times when it got pretty bad, he drove a little red 2-door Jeep, and he would want us to come to his house in the morning, get his Jeep and bring it down to the courthouse and put it in his parking spot at the courthouse, and then bring it back to him at the end of the day.
With his new red Jeep parked outside the courthouse, it looked to the rest of the world like E. Ray was hard at work, even though he was back home, sleeping off another hangover.
Are you like, I'm just, doing a solid for my boss, or are you like, this is not right?
I would say we thought of it more as doing a solid for our boss. I was 25. Todd was very young, just out of college, just licensed as a peace officer. None of us really thought any different about it, quite honestly.
This is Todd West.
Who hired you?
Earl Ray Andrews. E. Ray, the DA. He was a good enough guy. I mean, he was a sharp attorney. He was just a nice guy.
Could you tell that he changed when he started drinking again?
No, not really. I never noticed him drinking at work or anything.
Mhm.
None of that.
It's kind of like the frog in the hot water, so to speak. You don't realize it's getting worse until you look back on it and go, wow, how did it get that far without us really realizing there was a problem?
E. Ray wanted the DA job, but he also wanted to keep drinking. He hatched a plan, the best of both worlds. He would hire a competent assistant who could do all the work he was supposed to do. Enter Donna Little, these days Donna Bennett. At the time, Donna was working for E. Ray's nemesis, the county attorney Larry Heffington. Donna was also tight with Texas Ranger Ray Nutt and Sheriff Slick Alfred, two lawmen who were not exactly members of the E. Ray Andrews fan club.
E. Ray really wanted someone with a lot of experience. Donna had a lot of experience, and he wound up hiring her away from Larry's office to be an assistant in our office. But she was also, like I said, closely affiliated with Ray Nutt and Slick Alfred, who kind of had a contentious relationship with E. Ray as well. My personal opinion was that it was not a good idea to hire her because I felt like he was kind of bringing someone into the office that was going to be looking over his shoulder all the time. And it was becoming kind of obvious that the reason E. Ray wanted somebody else was so that he could be absent more. Really what he needed to do was not hire someone else and come to work. Tried to have that conversation, with him a couple of times, but that wasn't what he wanted.
Oh, so you felt strongly enough that you confronted him about it?
I was a lowly assistant DA, so I wouldn't necessarily say I confronted him. Several of us in the office let him know we just didn't feel like that was going to be a good environment, and tried to encourage him to be more active in the office, not hire someone else to take on more duties where he could be absent more.
So did hiring Donna end up coming back to bite him?
In several ways, in my opinion. She was very, very skilled lawyer, very smart, had experience. So she was able to basically take over a lot of his duties, and he just very much took a back seat. And then I also think there very much was a group of people in law enforcement that she was close with that felt like he was not to be trusted as the district attorney.
Donna declined several requests to speak with us.
So I think they were looking for things to try to get him in trouble for, and looking very closely over his shoulder, and at the same time giving him enough rope to hang himself.
And one result of all this chaos would be that Donna Little, the new assistant DA, would find the Watkins case thrown right into her lap. The Henderson County arraignment of Jerry Mack Watkins took place in February 1994, during which he pled not guilty. His pretrial hearing was scheduled for April. If enough probable cause was determined, the trial date would then get scheduled for the 15th of August of the following summer, which also answered the wishes of Watkins' attorney Jack Zimmerman, who wanted as hasty a trial as possible. There was always the chance that if the trial was delayed, more damning information might rise to the surface, as Shelley's body had in the Trinity River that previous September. Meanwhile, at least 6 months of limbo lay ahead. During that time, any outside murderer might be traced and arrested for Shelley's death, a possibility that the defense was hoping for. E. Ray Andrews was already deeply in debt and had been off and on for years. But his dubious transactions and outright criminal actions had already caught the attention of serious law enforcement, and maybe he thought a sensational murder prosecution under his office's aegis against a wealthy and privileged prominent citizen from the next county would either distract public attention from his malfeasances or redeem his name, at least a little bit. Or maybe he was just skating along, guided by his own impulsive instincts. One thing was clear: seizing the instant opportunity, he wasn't doing much calculation beyond the immediate moment.
By now, E. Ray Andrews owed money all over town. He was also in the habit of writing hot checks against his account at the First National Bank. The bank chairman and CEO was this guy named Lavelle Layfield. When one of Lavelle's adult sons was arrested on a felony DWI charge in the spring of '94, E. Ray swooped in. He was like, "Lavelle, give me a personal loan to cover all these hot checks, and I'll pull some strings for your son's case." So Lavelle fronted E. Ray the money. Then he arranged to have his bank give E. Ray another loan. E. Ray used part of this bank loan to pay back Lavelle. He used the rest of the bank loan to pay off more of his debt from all those hot checks. If that sounds like a tangled web, it is. But that's just E. Ray's life right now. Around this same time, E. Ray was running another scheme. It involved this different guy named Don Forrester who'd also been arrested for DWI. For $3,000, E. Ray said he would handle Don's case, but he overpromised. Remember, as the district attorney, E. Ray is in charge of felonies. Misdemeanors are handled by the county attorney, Larry Heffington. And Larry, unlike E. Ray, plays by the rules.
There were rumors that Larry was looking into some of E. Ray's practices in the DA's office.
E. Ray asks Larry to drop the charges. Larry refuses. When Don's case doesn't go away, Don complains to the county attorney. And that's how E. Ray's enemy, Larry Heffington, finds out about the illegal payments E. Ray's been receiving to sweep cases under the rug. Reading between the lines, I wouldn't be surprised if Larry is the one who tips off the state authorities at this point. Investigators from the Texas Attorney General's office show up in Athens, digging into E. Ray's web of misdeeds. Here's retired lawman Jeff Milslegel, who would soon join the investigation into E. Ray.
What we found was E. Ray Andrews was a really good defense attorney. When he took the job as DA, one of his buddies would have a client, usually at DWI, and he'd come in and he'd say, "I'll just take care of it." And magically he would get $3,000 to $5,000.
It gets worse. E. Ray had also been pilfering state funds that were meant to support the district attorney's office. On official reports E. Ray filed with the state of Texas, he claimed that he was using these state funds to supplement his employees' paychecks. Instead, he allegedly put that money, $27,000, into his own pocket, stiffing his employees.
The district attorney's office has a discretionary fund that is money that comes in from seizures and other sort of things that then the DA can use for anything other than supplementing his own salary. That account was at First National Bank. In some way, E. Ray was getting some access to that account for extra money for him.
Lavelle Layfield was the head of the bank over there, First National Bank of Athens, was the president. So we went and saw him. We know that you paid E. Ray money. We know that you covered all of his hot checks. And we know you cashed checks when E. Ray would get money from the state to give for salaries to his employees, the assistant DAs, to make up their salary.
In July '94, E. Ray finally announced the investigation that he was under by the Attorney General's office. He also admitted that he was about to be called before a grand jury in Henderson County on criminal allegations. This was all happening while E. Ray's assistants, Donna Little and Mike Head, were preparing to bring the murder case against Jerry Mack Watkins. The trial was less than a month away. Remember when Carol and I went and talked to E. Ray at the nursing home? He told us he'd answer questions if we just gave him a couple of weeks. We were skeptical, but we had to try.
Oh, you're wearing your Baylor Bears shirt again?
Oh, yeah.
Carol
yeah.
Dawson, remember?
Yeah.
I came to see you 3 weeks ago. You said to call on you after Christmas.
Yeah.
How are you?
Pretty good, pretty good. You doing all right?
I am doing all right. Well, we stopped by because you told me to come back after Christmas because we wanted to know if you would talk with us about the Watkins case back when you were a DA in Athens.
Yeah.
And you were the one who pushed forward so hard with the case against Jerry Mack Watkins.
He had a lot of things going against him. I figured that I could at least get a rich man, poor man conviction.
Can you explain that? Rich man, poor man conviction?
It happened all the time. The rich man, goes in thinking he's going to win. And he's guilty of the tickets and he flops.
If you didn't follow that, I think E. Ray said, the rich man goes in thinking he's gonna win, He's guilty as the Dickens, and he flops.
Of course, I claimed that I was doing it to get their money. I didn't want their money.
Did you think that they were trying to set you up?
My Lord, yeah. Sure I did.
Anything might happen. And it did.
Thank you for listening to The Unforgotten. Get updates, photos, case files, and more when you sign up for our newsletter at unforgottenpod.com. The Unforgotten is a free-range production. Season 1, The Labor Day Ghost, is created, written, and hosted by Carol Dawson and me, Wes Ferguson. I'm the executive producer here at Free Range. Audio recording, editing, and mixing by Austin Sisler at Eastside Studios in Austin, Texas. Scored by Austin Sisler and Jamie Cummins. Our theme song, Ghost, is written and performed by Corsicana's own Will Mechatron Jones. If you support our efforts to shine a new light on Shelley Watkins' cold case, please like, subscribe, give us a review, and tell your friends. Thanks again, and see you soon.